that tangent, x and y, leaves out the hypotenuse completely, doesn't it? Now, you're not stupid. If there's some kind of ratio that uses opposite and adjacent, there must be a ratio that uses the hypotenuse, because all three sides are what is needed to make a triangle, correct? So we are now going to talk about the other two ratios, the ones that use the hypotenuse, okay? So tangent is not the only ratio. The other two are named sine and cosine, and they also work in every right angle triangle, just like tangent, okay? The sine ratio compares the opposite measurement to the hypotenuse measurement. So sine looks like this. Sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now, just like tangent, opposite changes with where you are in the triangle, okay? What doesn't change with where you are in the triangle? If I am here, there I am, smiley face Myers, lots of hair, big muscles. If I'm there, what's opposite? X. If I move up here, climbing the triangle, now what's opposite? Y. What didn't change? The hypotenuse. It was still Z. Cool? So remember, we have to remember the height doesn't change. It's always across from the 90 degree. Cool in the gang? Okay. So you guys are smart kids. Sine uses opposite and hypotenuse. Tan uses opposite and adjacent. What's the only thing left? The only pair left you can get? Cosine. And it compares the adjacent measurement to the hypotenuse. So that is this. Cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Got it? Now, math guys have come up with this fake word. Sohcahtoa. Now, when I was your age, I thought that word sounded Japanese. Sohcahtoa. And that's how I remembered it. I was like, it's math karate. Sohcahtoa! Which is horribly racist. But in 1989, when I did trigonometry, you were allowed to make jokes like that. Okay? Now, my Math 10 teacher didn't let us make that joke. He got very angry with us. My Math 10 teacher was very cool. He was also very handsome, similar to what you guys are dealing with right now. My girlfriend, I might have told you this story, had a real crush on my Math 10 teacher. And I would leave Math 10 class, and she would always be like, hey, Matt. Well, it was Matthew. Hey, Matthew. Hey, Tamara. How's it going? Pretty good. Did you just have math? I did. How was Mr. Stewart? And I'd be like, he was fine. And it took me a long time to realize why she always cared about Mr. Stewart. Because she never asked how English with Miss Fowler was. She never asked how social studies with Mr. Aktemachuk was. She never asked how French with Madame Morel was, or Mademoiselle Morel, but I think she didn't ask about Mademoiselle Morel because Mademoiselle Morel was super hot and I had a crush on her. So I think she didn't want me to remind me that I had a crush on the French teacher. What have I missed? She didn't ask how drama with Mr. Hyde was. She didn't ask how phys ed with Mr. Samuel was. Math, French, social, science. She didn't ask how science with Mr. Murray was, although she could have, because Mr. Murray was a pretty good-looking cat himself. But she didn't ask about Mr. Murray. She liked Mr. Stewart. I'm okay with it now. I've got some distance from it. I can work with it. I recently saw Tamara at a friend of ours' funeral from when we were kids. He died, and Tamara was at the funeral. I wasn't expecting her to be at the funeral, but she was. So it was a little weird, but everything was cool. All right. So, Sohcahtoa. Sine, op, and hype. Cos, adj, and hype. Tan, op, and adj. That is what I assume Mr. Poix went ahead and showed you, even though I did not want him to. Are you okay with it? Now, what I want for you to do is in this blank spot over here, what do you think we're gonna draw? A triangle, because we're doing trig, and you can't do the trig without the triangles. Got it? Okay. Draw a triangle. Now, label this triangle A, B, C. Cool? Now, label the sides with the appropriate small letter. So what would this side be? Crickets. Lil C. What would this side be? Lil A. What would this side be? Lil B. Good job. Now, I want you to use Sohcahtoa and these letters to tell me the sine of B, the cos of B, and the tan of B. Then, I want you to use these letters to tell me the sine of A, the cos of A, and the tan of A. Picking up what I'm putting down, eh? See what I did there? You know what it's all about? It's all about trig. I got some buddies that I drink beer with in the United States, and they're always, whenever I walk in, they make about jokes. So I recently got them both mugs for beer shaped like a boot. So this is what it's all about. And I gave them both their beer mugs shaped like a boot. Which is kind of mean, because if you drink wrong from a beer mug shaped like a boot, you've all seen Beer Fest, it sprays all over your face. You have to turn the cup, or it goes boosh. But being that they work in a beer store, they all knew that, so they didn't boosh their face even once. So go ahead. I will quietly hum the Jeopardy theme in my head twice while you fill this out. Go. That was once. That was twice. So let's go ahead and do this. If I want the sine of b, then where is Myers standing? At A or at B? B. I'm down here. And here I am. Which means sine of B is opposite and hypotenuse, yes? So what is opposite of me when I am at B? Lil b. What's the hypotenuse? Lil c. Right? Now in math class, we use letters to represent what? Numbers. So in a math problem, one of these or both of them is going to have a number. And you just use it. What is cos of b? Well, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. So it must be lil a over lil c. And tan, you already know, is b over a. What is the sine of a? Now Mr. Myers has trucked himself up to there. Does the math change or did my position change? My position changed. So does the math change? No. Let me give you an example. What's 3 plus 7? 10. What is 3 plus 7? Still 10, even though I moved. Got it? Is 3 plus 7 still 10 if you're in Paraguay? Yes, it is. Except you would say it in Spanish, German, or the what's it called? I can't say that word. The native language of Paraguay. Then what? Guarani. So, if the math doesn't change, then sine of A must still be opposite over hypotenuse. So I look at what's opposite of me, and I see that it is little a. But the hypotenuse is still c. The cos of A is lil b over c, and the tan of A is a over b. Cool? Everybody good? What if that triangle turned or rotated? Would the math change? No. Got it? Okay. So let's look at this question. What do I have? Do I have an angle that I know? What is it? So I have a theta. So that's the angle that I am going to start at. So if I'm starting there, what do I have? I have that and that. What two sides of the triangle is that? I have an opposite, which equals x, and I have an hypotenuse, which equals 25. What ratio uses O and H? Sine, Sohcahtoa, right? So sine 12 equals O, x over h, 25. Numbers on the bottom. So I multiply both sides by 25, and I get x equals 25 times sine 12, which is what? 5.0 exactly? Oh, 5.2. That sounds better. 5.197. I will accept 5.2. Got it? Nothing changes. Okay? You guys should have 3 of them on the same page. I had to go to a second page. So let's do this one. Do I have a theta? What is it? 19. That means I'm starting there. What else do I have? I have that and that. So I have an adjacent of 40 and a hypotenuse of x. What uses a and h? Cosine. So cos of 19 equals a 40 over h, x. Now, algebraically, I got to do that. Don't write this down. Algebraically, I got to multiply this by x, multiply this by x, cancel, cancel. So cos 19 times x equals 40. Then I got to divide both sides by cos 19 to get x equals 40 divided by cos 19, yes? Algebraically, that's what I do. You guys are smart kids. What do you really do? Letters on the bottom, they just change places. So x equals 40 over cos 19, which is 42.3. Does that make sense? We were trying to find the hypotenuse. Ow! The hypotenuse is longer than 40. 42.3 is longer than 40. So it works. Got it? And what is the last one? Do I have a theta? No. I don't have a theta. But I have an adjacent of 13 and an h of 22. What uses a and h? Cos. But I need the angle, so it must be... I need the angle. So cos minus 1. Shift cos. Shift cos equals adjacent, 13 over 22. You got to punch that into your calculator. And you get an angle of theta equals shift cos 13 divided by 22, close brackets, equals 54 degrees. Got it? Everybody good? Okay. Now, the next thing in your book are count them, 3 puzzle sheets. I love me some puzzle sheets because the jokes are funny. Okay? So, the problem with puzzle sheets is you guys refuse to do a couple of things. 1, you refuse to read the instructions. So, you never do them right. 2, you do all the work, or you don't do all the work. You start guessing back and forth between what letter would make sense at the bottom, and you start guessing back and forth, and then you end up with a word at the bottom that is not a word in English. And then you're like, this sheet's wrong. It's not. You are. Okay? You all think because in middle school and elementary school, the job was to complete the sheet. In high school, the job is to do the math correctly. And the sheet gives you the little joke. That's the reward. Because this is more fun than doing questions in your textbook. Okay? So I'm going to cover both of these problems right now by showing you the first one. Is this distance really 5 of anything? No, it's just written as 5. Because triangle size doesn't matter. So I want the sine of A. Where is A? Right there. What is sine? O over H, correct? So what is opposite of A? 5. What is adjacent, or the hypotenuse? 13. So the sine of A is 5/13. Got it? So the number 1 gets an R. Cos of A is 12 over 13. So the number 2 gets an I. Tan of A is 5 over 12. Opposite over adjacent. So the number 3 gets an E. Now I go down to the bottom and I find number 1, I put an R. Number 3, I put an E. And number 2, I put an I. Got it? Now, Please observe this box right here. Notice how I don't necessarily have a number there. You still use root 3 because that's what's there. Got it? It doesn't matter what the value of root 3 is because it's still the adjacent or the opposite. Okay? That's how you do that sheet. Your second sheet requires you to do math. Number 1, you have a theta of 32. You have an opposite of x. You have a hypotenuse of 4. So you've got to figure out what x is by doing sine 32 equals opposite over hypotenuse. 4 times sine 32 will get you x. Okay? Now you're going to read the instructions. For the remaining exercises, cross out the box that contains the correct answer. So you do this work and you find out it is something like 2.1 or 2.6. I can't remember what. 4 sine 32 is 2.1. So I go down to the bottom. I find 2.1 and I cross it out. The remaining letters will spell the answer to a funny joke, which all of you will do this work and you will say, the jokes weren't funny, Mr. Myers, you're an idiot. And I'll say, funny is in the ear of the beholder. And you will all say, now you're even more of an idiot. And I will say, I don't care, because I think the joke is funny. Just like the mermaid being embarrassed in math class because her algae bra was showing. Algae bra. Her bra was made of seaweed, which is algae. Math class. Algebra. I know, but nobody was laughing again, so I felt it needed to be explained. You're welcome, Antonio. And finally, this one, same thing, except you're finding the angles. So I needed this angle. So what did I have? I had an O and an H. So this was shift sine of opposite 3 over 5. So I went shift sine 3 divided by 5, and I got it to be 37 degrees. Then I go up to the top. 37 gets an N. Okay? That's your work for the next 20 minutes. Yes. Everybody Gouda? Great! I will be walking around and helping people as soon as I push stop on the recording.